creation evaluation station where I give in-depth reviews of models and construction kits, both new and old. Mostly Lego, but other products as well. I also give discussion and review of other creative works such as movies, video games, and cartoons. Today we will be looking at Transformers, War for Cybertron, Kingdom Chapter, Fossilizers. These three different, actually looking at three different things today. They are for ages 8+. I don't have a piece count because there's nothing on the outside of the box. And they probably have varying pieces each one. But they retail between $14 and $29, or they retail between $19 and $29. Now, Transformers are action figures, and although I've discussed the Creo line in my Optimus Prime discussion video, the Optimus Prime leak/rumors discussion video, which you can see here. We're going to be looking at something a little bit newer than Creo, and it's actually their action figure line. Three different ones we're going to look at today. There's actually more, but we have Paleotrex, T-Rex guy. You can see it in there, hopefully. We have Wingfinger, a pterodactyl, and we have Ractonite, who's a, I think he's supposed to be a Styracosaurus. It's a horned dinosaur for sure, but not Triceratops. Yeah, Styracosaurus looks like. And the reason why we're looking at these, even though they are action figures, they are more than action figures. They are more than meets the eye. They are also a construction figure. It's a buildable figure, basically, but not like exactly like a model. The thing is with these, they have parts that can be removed and interchange, and they also can be used with regular Transformers as armor or weapons, which is a really cool concept in and of itself. But we are going to be looking at these three specifically today. Now, there are other fossilizers, which I have sitting right here. These two guys right here. But these are a smaller fossilizer, and they are really not part of the building system that these are. They're just basically small figures, and they're also repaints of each other. And there are two others which we will look at in the follow-up, where we do a final eval for these. And we are going to do an eval. I'm going to be probably doing a little bit different because this is not a brick building system. So I feel like I'll probably drop off the techniques, because it's really hard to compare techniques with something you don't have any reference point for. But we might talk about it briefly, but we'll keep it out of the rating. So there will only be three points to consider. Oh, and this is kind of funny. See the tops of these three boxes. There are two Decepticons and one Autobot, at least by that. But these are also supposed to combine together. Actually, I think I've heard it's a secret combiner, so I haven't opened these up. We're going to look at them and see if, the instructions actually show this secret combiner. If not, I will look online, see if we can find it, and we'll look at it together. But we're going to check these out, throw them together, and look at them. Check out the parts, see how they fit together. you know, see the quality. This is Hasbro. Oh, I failed to mention that. These are Hasbro toys, made by Hasbro Toys, and the quality of them should be good. Just, you know, even like when I talked about the Creo stuff, the quality was good. There was other issues why they didn't really catch on. It's really hard to just plain compete with Lego. You know, they've already got a huge fan bases, and that's a whole, you know, discussion right there. But we're gonna check these out because I find these very interesting and very different, and I probably will do a video on Transformers because although they're not really a construction thing, I feel that it is a franchise, you know, not even sure what to go because it's so, you know, comic books, movies, cartoons, action figures, coloring books, whatever, the whole franchise. They're good at inspiring creativity, even though they aren't like a construction set. These, however, are a little bit different since they are a buildable figure type thing. And also, Hasbro, along with the Creo line, did have another line of buildable Transformers, which we'll probably look at that someday as well. But today we're looking at these, so let's get to it. Here we have all our fossilizers outside the box. And you can see here the box contents. I have them standing in front of their correlating boxes, and I really like to say I love the artwork on these boxes. While we're looking at the boxes, just a quick PSA is when you open them up, yeah, I got garbage in there. I do something with the garbage I had on me. Watch for right here on the back. There is a card inside here. In fact, this one had this card right here. Don't forget about it. You don't want to throw that out with the box. And also watch, because there's some additional pieces that are in the backs along some of the inside some of these holes and such. So quick PSA about that. And with regards to these cards that I found inside, they're really nice cards. There's one slight problem I have with them. They're holographic, and actually I should say two little problems I have with them. But they're a really nice card. They're really thick. This is one and had the arc. There's really nothing on the back, and there's no information. Like, well, this is the arc, but some of the other ones had actual Transformers. It would be good to have like their stats, their name, you know, some information on the back of them. Second part is it would really be nice to have the art from these boxes on these cards. These cards have nothing to do with the Transformer that's in the box, unfortunately. But yes, so keep an eye on that for the box. Don't lose the parts or the card. Inside each box comes a card where I showed you. So also the instruction booklet and some additional information, probably in other languages and such, that didn't get on the main instruction booklet. It's an addition. So yeah, that each one has all that stuff. There's different cards, so I'll show you the cards because I'm not going to really show it when I start showing these actual figures. Wingfinger had Megatron, and Ractonite had Optimus Prime. Now, I'm not sure if you get these, you'll have the same cards or whether they're random. Like I said, I wish they actually had a card that actually corresponded to the Transformer that was inside the box. But miles may vary with that. I don't know. I'm happy I didn't get a double if they are random. I actually got, you know, some pretty cool characters here. You got both leaders for both sides and the Autobots ship. So it's not like they're minor characters or figures. But that being said, we're going to look at each one of these individually and check them out. They came inside the box already assembled, except for a few accessories and pieces, like I said, that were hidden on the back or whatever. You might have an armor leg that wasn't quite attached either. But we are going to be tearing these down first, and then I will put them back together into their transformed creature mode, animal mode. That being said, as far as Transformers goes, I have never really... I think a good Transformer is one that does not require pulling off of pieces to transform, other than accessories and weapons and such like that. That being said, it's supposed to be the whole gimmick of this line, so I can give it a pass. And although these look, you know, like solid guys, these are all can be separated into little tiny pieces and can be rearranged any way you would like. Here we have Paleotrex, the first one. I'm gonna kind of review these in the way they were released. This was the first one. They came out in mixed with different waves of other Transformers, so it's not like this was their own series on their own. But I am really fairly happy with how they look. I was a little bit skeptical because they are, you know, bones. They've had dinosaur Transformers before, but when you're dealing with just skeletons, you got a whole lot less material to deal with. That being said, I think he looks pretty good, but definitely not perfect. My biggest complaint would be the arms. Now, I understand that they probably become the T-Rex's legs, and hence that's why they're so long, but they are really, really long. As you can see from the one that's not holding the weapon, it goes all the way down to below his knees. The fingers do. The hands themselves make the arms even longer than they are. I mean, the arms are long, but not too outrageously. Let's see, above the hips. It's not too bad, but the hands make it worse, even worse. And he's got his little tail tip that's used as a weapon. Nothing too amazing with that. Oh, and also, slap him on the lid. The head here, as you see, that's his real head, but he also has this other mask type thing, which is really creepy and cool at the same time. I'm not sure why they do this. I know the original Beast Wars, which kind of is what this Kingdom line is supposed to be like, had alternate masks that were supposed to protect him from energon radiation and such. But that was only for like the first wave, and then after that they were kind of scrapped, and I'm surprised they brought these back in just newer figures that are brand new characters that haven't existed yet. But this guy's definitely pretty cool looking. You can see I like his asymmetry there with his shoulder, which obviously looks very much like some kind of axe head, which I'm pretty sure we see that somewhere along the lines. And he got his backpack, which is just his skull. It's too bad that couldn't have been like integrated into the robot form, but it's definitely got its uses for other things that we'll see later on. Next up, we have Ractonite, who is probably one of my favorite out of these three for multiple reasons. For one, he's a ceratopsian, and I'm a big fan of ceratopsians. Triceratops specifically, although this guy is not a Triceratops. He's a Styracosaurus. But I also like the asymmetry here we have again, and with the skull on the shoulder there is pretty neat. And I think he's the best looking one out of all the three. He's got his problems as well, but I like his kind of squatty and, you know, bulky appearance. His biggest issue is he really doesn't have hands. And those which we see there are simply the ceratopsians, the Styracosaurus' feet. I think it's the front feet. It doesn't really matter too much. They look pretty similar. But he doesn't have like any fists or hands really, except for those which look really weird considering they go down. And on top of that, you can see in this one, there's no hand, and where most hands usually have peg holes, he has instead a peg. And so his weapon over here on this side has a peg hole. So very weird, because that means he can't hold any other weapons, and also his tail can't be used by anybody else, which is rather strange for Transformers. I don't know how else. But yeah, so he doesn't really have hands. Just big club feet thing. Overall, though, I like him. It's just, that's a shame. And he also has an additional face. This is his regular face, and then he doesn't have a full mask. He just has kind of a thing that comes down over his eyes. Becomes an additional helmet. I definitely think Paleotrex's helmet was much cooler, but it's kind of neat too. Just kind of gives a, you know, say he's looking at a explosion, he, you know, blocks off some of the infrared light or something. I like how the eyes of the robot also match the eyes of the Styracosaurus. It's pretty cool. But that's pretty much it for him. And these first two, if you're care to know, are both Predacons. They are essentially the Decepticons of the Beast Wars line. Now we had to back the camera up just a little bit for this guy because he's quite a bit taller than the other guys. Taller, but not all around bigger, as he's quite skinny and quite stick figure. Now this guy is our first Maximal in the line, the good guys in the Transformers Beast Wars series, and he actually has a symbol right there on top of his head. Now, regarding his head, even though he's a bigger figure and really tall and lanky, he's probably got the smallest head out of all of them. And just like the others, he does have a kind of mask type thing going on here. He also, if you can't tell, he has a very ninja type theme going on here, which kind of works for his, you know, lankiness. Maybe not quite his height, but, you know, being able to sneak around and being quiet. He's got those two wingtip blades that look, you know, something like katanas. But on top of that, they can also be formed into kind of a bow. But his hands have holes that go straight through, so the pieces can go right through that way. And you can see he now has a bow. On top of that, he has an arrow, which is definitely not your typical arrow. But you can see here, he kind of uses his skull there as some kind of arrow or something like that. Makes him very much heavy, but you can balance him out, moving joints and stuff to keep him standing up straight. This guy is definitely quite different than the other two. You know, they just had little tail blades and stuff like that. This guy is wobbling a little bit, but he's standing. You know, uses his wingtips to give him something a little bit more than just swords, although they can be swords. I personally think he looks better as the ninja, but he definitely looks like a ninja with you know, like his very small head that looks kind of like a mask, and then the two katanas, which gives this guy very different appeal than the other two. And more character, I would say. A little bit more character. You know, personality, you know. He's a ninja, so, you know, he's going to be quiet. He's going to be skulking in the shadows and stuff like that. So that's all three of them. This has just been their robot forms. We still got to look at their animal forms. We have them, Paleotrex in his beast mode, and I must say I really like it. It looks fairly accurate for a T-Rex. I really think that they definitely sacrificed the robot mode for the dino mode in both of these. We'll see more as we move on to the other ones. There's nothing too bad about that, you know. A robot doesn't have to have a particular look about them, and the robots don't look terrible. Here's Ractonite. He's looks pretty good. He's got his symbol there on his shoulder. Didn't notice it in robot mode, but there it is. You know why? Because it's on the bottom of the robot. His arms would have been covering it. But he looks pretty good, just like the T-Rex, Paleotrex. There is something that's bugging me about him, but I can't put my finger on it. It's just something about his proportions don't seem quite right. He's not bad by any means. Something feels off. But other than that, he looks good still. Once again, I think they did a really good job on these dinosaur modes, these beast modes. Here we have the only Maximal in the group. This one also looks pretty good. I mean, it's not meant to stand like this, but you can get it to stand like this. The original dinosaur didn't really stand like this either, so it's kind of hard. I mean, if you put him in his proper positioning, which he would be flying like that. So, you know, if you want him to stand up, you gotta move some parts around. Pretty much move his neck and swivel his feet around to the appropriate place and balance him, because he's a bit top heavy. But this is totally doable to stand him up. And there we go. Standing upright again. Sort of upright, but these all look really good in dinosaur mode. If you're a big fan of dinosaurs, I definitely suggest these. Whether you like Transformers or construction things. So I have here Dinobot, and he is from the same line as these Fossilizers. I thought with his color scheme he would look good with these. We're going to try to put some armor and weapons on him to just check that out. And I found out that although this is compatible with everything in the line, the actual Transformers that are the remakes of the Beast Wars lines, like this Dinobot here, don't have quite as many ports. So we are limited. I don't have any of those, the regular Transformers. The other ones they're basically remold or redesigns of Generation 1 characters, and then I didn't really get any because there's only so many times I need the same Bumblebee, so to speak. But well, first, let's start by checking out where he does have ports. Now, nothing on his back or his arms, which that would be a good place to start, but there's nothing there. Okay. It looks like there's ports here on his knees, which are really stiff. That's kind of good. And of course, he has ports on his hands for holding weapons, including his own that he comes with. Now, this is a little bit different. You can see the holes go here. Usually the hole, traditionally, you know, the Transformer has a fist and the hole is usually the top of the fist. This is like right in the hand. So it's going to be a little bit different to deal with, but not totally impossible. Let's get his other weapon out of here. Oh, and this weapon also has a port inside as well. So you could put something else inside there. Let's try that out. Let's put one of these Paleotrex's feet right in there. Okay. Now, isn't the most amazing thing, but there you go. And it fits. And it's good and tight. There's, you know, you can take advantage of the joints, kind of change the shape of it if you want. And this foot piece also has a peg here, so if you want to add something more to it. Let's take that off and take his weapon off so he doesn't have anything going on here. Alright. So, we have this axe. Now, we do have a slight problem with this axe, because it's meant to be dropped down into somebody's hand. Which, this guy's got nice tight fingers. You could kind of go like that. That doesn't look bad, but that's not using the system we want to use. So, there is something we can do. Quite simple. You looked at my parts thing, you'd see that there is a hinge right here. If we simply just twitch this around, so this goes in this end. So I have to turn this around and then bend that back and put that. This piece likes to spin here. And put that in his hand. Okay, there we go. Not bad. He's got himself a new weapon. So let's try out those knee ports, if they're actually knee ports. The funny thing is, I'm not sure if they are, because they look like it from this side, but then you look at their recording side, and there's a bolt in there for a hinge. They do hinge on that corner. But let's give it a shot. Let's do something simple. Let's take one of these spikes. Actually, both spikes. Let's put spikes on both sides. Now, this is pretty simple, but let's see how well it works. Alright, I'm not sure those are ports. Yeah, those aren't going to go in. Now, these might be slightly different size, so we'll try something else. Just a moment. Get those spikes back on there. Let's take the foot piece here. He'll have arms growing out of his knees. Could always use an extra set of hands, right? Okay, these aren't ports. So, this is very disappointing. Unfortunately, I don't have other ones of these guys. Oh, no, those aren't ports either. But you can definitely see how they can easily be created into weapons and used by the different characters. But I have a little bit more to show you, and this is definitely not advertised by Hasbro in the packaging, in the promotional material or anything. First, let's take that weapon out. We're going to need a little bit more space for this guy, so we're going to shove our bones aside. Alright, we're bringing in this big boy. Now this is from Transformers Prime. Totally other different line. Older line. This came out, oh my gosh. 10 years now? Maybe not 10 years. I think at least 5 years, if not longer than that. But, now he doesn't have ports all over his body, because these weren't designed with those type of things in hand, but they still hold weapons. So, check this out. Look at that. It fits like a glove. Now he's got a sword and an axe. Look at that. See, something they don't tell you is they always, well, almost always, most Transformers use the same socket for their weapons, their hands. And if they do have any storage on their body, sometimes there's weapon storage, sometimes too. And if you don't believe me, we got one more to go. This guy is quite the big guy. He looks pretty good with his axe, but we're gonna put him away for now. And this next guy is one of my favorite Transformers. He sits out on my bookshelf. He's a bit dusty. I have not figured out how to get all the dust off him. A little bit smaller. And yes, dragons. I do like dragons. But this is a Generation 1 Transformer. He has a broken wing. Like I said, he's one of my favorite. When I was young, and he got the most play. Let's see. It looks like the same port. Let's see if it works. Look at that. Still fits perfectly. Might be a little bit oversized for the character, but definitely works. So, toy, that is, oh my gosh, what? 20, 30, over 30 years old, fits a brand new toy as a weapon. Is that cool or what? Now there are some differences. I don't have any currently out here, but some of them do have slightly smaller handholds, and they were usually really small Transformers. The thing is, though, a lot of times their weapons had a little small peg to fit their hands, but then it would go into a much larger pole peg that would still fit in the bigger Transformers' hands. This is just a quality that's kind of mind-boggling if you think about it. But yeah, all the weapons are compatible with older versions, and that includes the Fossilizers as well. And so you could, well, you can't really build armor with them, but you could build additional weapons of other variety with these guys. So let's go put these guys back together in their animal forms. And then after that, we are going to assemble the secret combiner. I tore everything down, and so we can see the pieces. As you can see, each guy has got different number of pieces. The color schemes work great if you do want to mix them together. They all have different earthy tones. I didn't think it would work at first, but they look pretty good together if you want to mix and match these. And let's just take a closer look at this system. Just take a random piece here. Now, see, we have a post here and a hole here. And that is pretty much the basics of the building system. Take another one here. This one, oh, it's got a hole there too. So it's got a peg and a hole. You can put in either one. This guy's got a peg here. Got a hole here and a peg on the bottom. But, roll it together like that. And you have a foot with a leg. Now, that's not very interesting looking, but you can see what potential you can have here. There's using the hinges here. Do you want to make a larger leg? Or, you know, a different shaped leg? But yeah, that's the basics of the system. Now there's some oddities here. We got this guy. Now this is a main torso piece. It's a Ractonite. Comes with his head there. You can see. And it has some special abilities because it's kind of part of the transformation, where this opens up like this. Eventually becomes the whole body and the extension into the tail of the dinosaur when you transform it. But you could take advantage of this, you know, to build something for sure. And it's got multiple ports. There's a port there and on the opposite side, port here. There's a port inside there, although that port is actually originally on the outside. There's a port here at the bottom. There's a peg inside there. She could do something with that. The head had a peg on it. So there's a lot of different things you could do with this. Now I think the instructions, just glancing at them, they actually make this into a mace using some other pieces, like, you know, say this, to extend it out, so you have a nice large mace. Kind of heavy, but it's doable. Just have to have the right joints holding it up. And one really cool thing over here with Paleotrex is we have this. You can see what this is going to become, I hope. So yeah, if you take a couple of these other pieces, like his tail, it's a nice tapered appearance. And then this on, ta-da! You have a really nice axe. And on top of it, oh, yeah, there it is. There are some of these pieces have hinges right by where they connect, so you can have movement. Why you would want to do that with an axe, I don't know, but you can use it. Use your imagination to do other things as well. Chop, 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 chop. Now we'll take a look later. First, I'm going to put these back together in their dino forms, which that is how you do transform these. You do have to pull parts off and rearrange things. It's not quite as simple. Although I don't think you have to break them down quite this far. I will look at the instructions and let you know when I get that far. But you still have to pull things off and put them together, which under normal circumstances I would consider them poor transformers. It's my stipulation, it's my personal thoughts that if you have a transformer, you only a good transformer, to transform it, you don't pull parts off and move them around. The only exceptions would be accessories or weapons, which I give this a pass because that's basically the gimmick for these. These guys become weapons and accessories and stuff, as you saw with the axe and things. So first, let's go check these out in their animal forms. So this is what the combiner looks put all together. I am rather impressed. Now, he is kind of lanky, but he looks very Evangelion if you are familiar with that mecha anime. So I don't mind it too much. I mean, the worst problem is he's kind of got some small feet, as you can see down there. Having a little problem getting fit in the camera. He's a little on the big side, but this head turned out so much better than I thought it would. A little bit better. There we go. Because I thought it'd be so small, it looked kind of ridiculous, but it's really part of the head when you put it inside the guy's jaws and stuff. And just look at it profile. I think it looks really cool, and that is supposed to be kind of a tail piece, but what's interesting is that really helps the whole thing balance a little bit better, because that headpiece is, I don't know if it's made out of the regular plastic like the rest of the pieces, because it feels like it's on the heavier side. And it's just more proof that they meant for this combiner to happen, even though this is the unofficial combiner. They never gave him a name, and they never gave the instructions out. People figured out how to do it themselves. And if you're interested and you have all three of these, there's going to be a link in the description, and I'll probably put one up here in the corner as well, to a video that will show you how to do this. I found some written instructions with some pictures too, but I think the video looks better, and if you're watching this on YouTube, you can, I mean, it's where this video is, that's where the link goes to too. So you should have access to it. But yeah, he looks pretty good. Even though he's lanky, I love how the slopes of the arm. Now I've seen people have the arms attached differently, but I think this looks really good with the bottom foot moving right into his lower arm like that, because you can then use that upper joint as his elbow rather than this here. But he is a little wobbly. He said he's got rather small legs. But I had him sitting up here all night, and we have trains that go by and stuff, and he stayed standing the whole entire night. Now, you look down here, these are the leftover pieces from putting them together. Oh, that's the tip there. You can easily make some weapons out of them. I mean, we still have the sword pieces from Wingfinger. But you can use these to build some weapons, and it's really interesting. This is Paleotrex's head. I did not know you could pull the whole thing out until I had to try to build this guy. But yeah, this is the unofficial official combiner. Now, I've seen a lot of other people do different things with them, like they buy even more and add more parts to them and stuff like that. But we'll talk a little bit more about him in the final eval, which we're going to get to next. So one more quick bit at him, and let's go ahead back to the desk. Okay, we're back here at the desk, and I kept this guy in his combined form because I think it looks really cool. Plus, it takes up a little less space here, although he's definitely a little bit taller. But let's give him a final eval. Now, I'm not going to be doing technique. It's really hard to compare something like this with what? I mean, Lego techniques, it's totally different build system. Now, there are other action figure building systems out there, including like Lego's Bionicles and Hero Factory, but I still don't feel like there really should be much of a comparison. So we're going to leave techniques alone. So we're only going to go by 3 standards, and we're also not going to talk about price, but I'll talk about a little bit more about that afterwards. So appearance, combined form looks pretty cool. Their animal modes look really great. I had a small problem with Styracosaurus, and I still not quite sure what about it that bothers me, but it still looks good. There's just some proportions that feel off, and this is somebody who's looked at dinosaur skeletons and stuff for a long time. I've been since I was a little kid. Something about it is just not jiving right with me. But overall, they still look good, and considering the other two look really great, I don't know what it is that's bothering me about that, but there's something. But I'm not really going to take that into consideration with my score. Now, their robot modes are somewhat compromised with their appearance, and I said that was because of they're compromised for their dinosaur mode, and that's probably partially the case, but actually part of it is this combiner. And it's really odd because this is not official. It's unofficially official. They showed it at a convention one point in time, but they've never had instructions or anything else. But I complained about Paleotrex's long arms. Well, guess what? The long arms look really great on here. The strange things with the pegs in Ractonite's hands, rather than having holes, he's got put pegs instead. That's actually required for building this thing. So a lot of the problems are not for the robot modes individually, but for this combined robot mode. I'm not sure what to think about that, but I did take a point off for, appearance. There's just they could be looking a little bit better. They didn't look bad, and like I said, you can get away with certain things with the robot forms. I mean, this guy's longer arms didn't bother me that much. They look off proportionally, but they, like I said, they aren't necessarily human. They're robotic. So appearance, I gave a 9. Now function, everything works great. You got, transforming them back and forth. That works fine. Transforming this works good. I've known other people have had some loose joints here and there. I didn't have any loose joints on any of my figures. They were pretty tight. To the point that some of them were almost too tight. I'm like, does that joint actually move? And I was a little worried about, forcing it. But as far as functions go, yeah, there's nothing wrong too much with it that I could. Like there were some loose joints, I guess, here when I went to do the combiner, but individually those parts would never have been put together in the individual things, and despite that, it still holds together good. Just the way they're put together, they hold each other in place. It's a bit odd, but it worked. So as far as functions go, I also gave it a 9. Now, as far as fun, there's lots of fun here, transforming them back together, combining them like this, and I recommend the build for this was rather fun, seeing how they put the pieces together. I mean, when you did the robots back to the animals and back and forth, it's fairly simple and kind of straightforward how they go together. This thing is rather interesting how it's done, and I recommend if you have all 3 of these, at least try building this once. There will be instructions at the links down below. I think I already had one up when I covered this specifically. But as far as fun, yeah, building it back and forth is great. You got, as I say, the only problem is you have 2 Decepticons here and 1 Autobot, which is a little bit offsides. But you're going to have that one way or the other because you have 3, unless they were all 3 Autobots or 3 Decepticons. And I don't know why they didn't do that. Maybe they were still planning on releasing a 4th. But I don't think so, because I think they're done with the War for Cybertron line. They're moving into other stuff. I know next year we got a movie coming up. I'm sure that'll be their focus. Those are usually not my favorite Transformers, although they might be doing something different with this new movie. Well, we'll see and we'll find out then. But fun, this thing got a 10. There's lots to do. There's lots of things to fiddle around with. You can play around with the parts and try to create something with them. There's a lot here. And this guy has a bunch of leftovers even. So you can build your own weapons from what's left over. And I do recommend, if you can get all 3 of these, to at least try putting this together once. It's pretty fun. So that being said, we do our magical mathematics. Add them all up, divide by 3 this time, because we're not dealing with technique. No technique. And we get a 9.3, which we round up to 9.5 overall grade. Now, the price of this, I can't really compare it to Legos, so I'm not going to use my system for judging Legos, because this is totally different. I mean, they use different plastic. They use, parts per piece. It's totally different. Plus, as much as there's a collectible market for Legos, they're not really supposed to be collectibles. Transformers have a much more collectible aspect to them. They're action figures. They're a little bit more than action figures, which I'll talk about in a video someday. But you're dealing with collector's prices as well. These, I think, like I said, they're done with the War for Cybertron thing, so these are going to start disappearing. And some of these are older. Paleotrex is the first one to come out, and you're going to have a harder time seeing him more than others. I actually know right now one store that has both Wingfinger and Ractonite. I think they have 2 Wingfingers and a Ractonite. If you want to know where, you can contact me. Yeah, these are going to start disappearing in stores. Now, the good news is, well, there's some more others already out there, but they're a little bit hard to get hold of, which is why I did not feature them in this video. I do have them. I'm going to show you them in just a second, but they are from the Hasbro Pulse website. I have not checked recently if they still have them. The thing is, a lot of that, the Hasbro Pulse website is for collectors, and they tend to have a limited run, and they tend to sell out fast. So they most likely don't have these anymore, and I had pre-ordered them and had to wait for them to come in, and here they are. The first one here is Tricranius. It's pretty cool. It's a recolor and redesign, because he is a Triceratops, but he has basically got the same body and form as Ractonite. He is an Autobot. Really different color scheme. And a remold for the head. And this here is a box of blast parts. Pieces that you can add onto weapons that look like they fire. As you can see, this is a special box. You tend to get your the Hasbro Pulse figures come in, and these guys are both Autobots or Maximals, depending on how you want to put it. So if you want to be more balanced with these guys, you could always get your hands on these, perhaps. And this is Transmutate, which is a very special character from the Beast Wars storyline. That other guy was our original character, but this is based off of a different character from Beast Wars. But it is a remold and recolor of Paleotrex. And yeah, that you could still build something like this with them. You just have different colors. As of yet, there's no recolor or remake or whatever of the pterodactyl here of Wingfinger, but maybe someday. And while recording this, I found out that they have already planned to release at least 2 new fossilizers. They are Amazon exclusives. I've already got mine on pre-order, and you can pre-order them if you want. Just look up Wreckers and you should be able to find them. I can't remember each one's individual names, but they both come in a 2-pack with another Transformer and cost about $44 or $45 each, which that's not actually too bad for getting 2 Transformers at once, since they're probably around $20 each. They aren't scheduled to come out until November, and what they are is you have a Mastodon, which reuses the Styracosaurus mold and is actually remolded and recolored. And then there is a oh my gosh, I forgot his name. The guy with the sail. Spinosaurus. There is a Spinosaurus also that is a remold / recolor of Paleotrex. So that'll be like 3rd or 4th form of Paleotrex. So if you haven't found these and are interested in that, and especially the Paleotrex, because he's going to be starting to be really hard to find, you may be interested in trying to get that. That aside, overall thoughts on this? I know I gave it a good high rating at 9.5. The thing is, this really isn't a good construction set. If you weren't a big fan of Transformers, I don't recommend these. Thing about that, I mean, there's all these parts, and they're good fun to goof around with and everything else. But I don't recommend them as a building system. It's good that Hasbro actually just kind of put this in their regular action figure line. They didn't try to make these into some kind of construction line. Although, you know, they're robot forms look okay. Their animal farms look great. The parts, if you sit them there, you pull them all apart, they're sitting there in a pile like you would have a pile of Legos. They're not very inspiring looking. They look like a bunch of chicken bones that you had from last night's chicken wings, your buffalo wings that you had last night for dinner. They're not very appealing. They're not very inspiring to build anything. Unlike Lego, where you essentially, there's more advanced parts and stuff. But you have bricks, and bricks are very much intuitive to human beings for building things, you know? Uniformity. That uniformity helps inspire people to build a building or whatever. You know, you can get to more challenging things like cars, and you can try building a spear out of them and whatnot. But the pieces themselves are inspiring. These pieces really aren't. So I went into this to really test and see how these are. Now, as a toy, these are great. They just really aren't really very good as a construction toy. Not terrible. They stick together well. The quality is there. There's nothing wrong with that. And many people have been inspired. There's this combiner, but then there's other people that have gone wild with the combining and using of these parts. And if you look them up, you will see there's some really cool stuff. There's some really fun things that they have made. I haven't experimented too much with myself, but there's some really cool things that can be made. So with that being said, I recommend this only if you can get your hands on them. I would suggest getting all three of them if you can get them. But if you're not a big Transformers fan, I would stay away from it. You're a Lego and Transformers fan, you probably want to try to get this. But I definitely don't recommend it to everybody, and I also don't recommend you try to dish out a lot of money to get these if you aren't a Transformers fan. I myself am one, but that's me. That may not be you. And these are my opinions of it. You can have your own. Individually, they look great too. I mean, don't get me wrong, you don't have to get all three of them. Like, you know, maybe you have a favorite dinosaur, like the T-Rex or the Styracosaurus. You know, buy that particular one and have fun with that. You just won't be able to do as much with that with less pieces. But those are my general thoughts on this. This was an interesting kind of experiment, and if you like this video, do that YouTube thing, give it a like, subscribe, and share it with others if you know people that would be interested, and stay tuned for more. Oh, and leave comments below what you guys think. This is definitely some interesting things to discuss here. But it for me here at the Creation Evaluation Station, signing off, reminding you that creativity is key.